I think what's really impressive is certainly the growth of the event. From what I remember of last year, it's probably 5 to even 10 times larger, which means that the scale of attendees and exhibitors is much, much greater, and so that's been really good.
This is now moving to the center of everybody's thinking. People are seeing the opportunities to disrupt whole industries, disrupt whole businesses, reshape businesses, create margin, and that's always exciting.
It's a mix of large and small companies, so you've got AT&T here, a big company, but you have a lot of smaller companies that are here talking about some of the innovations they're doing. So I liked walking around the floor looking at all the innovation that's happening in one place.
There is a real mix of companies here and a lot of partnerships. And so for us, we're making a lot of connections both with end user customers that are looking at deployments, but also the ecosystem of partners. We're having great conversations about how to work better together.
My hope is that the conversation around things like the Internet of Things will continue to get more, if you will, more real. We would like to see, frankly, focus us upon solving challenges that we all face, whether it be sustainability, resiliency, whether it be safety.
We came out as part of the IoT World Startup Zone. Startup Zone allows small companies like us that are early stage to be able to afford to have a presence at an event like this. We've so far made a lot of contacts in this line. We came looking for partnerships with companies that want to build smart devices into their existing ecosystem.
I think all the members in our team, they are first time coming to a hackathon, so it was always we were actually exploring how it is, how it's going to be, and it turned out really amazing.
It's always good to be in front of enterprises and partners who are doing innovative things within IoT. So it's just inspiring to see what different folks are doing in this space, and with this technology, it's going to change the world.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Internet of Things World's SuperSession here. Thanks so much to Consumer Electronics Association for inviting us down. And thanks for you all to showing up at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning. I know there were some good parties on last night, so appreciate you making it down here. I also want to congratulate the CEA on such an amazing show. I mean, isn't it awesome out there? There's so much IoT this year. It's wall-to-wall IoT. And I just wanted to share a little bit about our journey with Internet of Things World and the experience of coming here to the CES, because it's such an amazing barometer of the electronics industry. It's about 2.5 years since we decided to focus a business around Internet of Things, and I was based in London at the time. We decided we needed to do it out here on the west coast of the States, because this is where the innovation is really being driven. And so I kind of relocated 2 years ago, 27th of December. 1st of January, we opened the office in Silicon Valley, just a little room, and I had one other guy. And a couple of days later, we headed out here to CES to talk about IoT. And I have to tell you, we walked around and spoke to a lot of people about IoT, and we got the dominant response was, what? Well, what's IoT? You know, internet, what? What are you talking about? You know, the silicon guys got it. Their eyes lit up when we talked about Internet of Things. They could see the potential. And then, you know, a year later, there was an awful lot of IoT here, and you didn't have to search it out so much. And then you come to this year, and it's, you know, IoT is the predominant theme of the show. I mean, you can go out anywhere, particularly in the stands. You'll see it everywhere. In the convention center here, you'll see it all over the place, and there's IoT crops up in every single session. You know, and I went to a keynote last night with the CEO of IBM, and you know, they were talking about, Ginny Rometty was talking about actually basically pivoting a company like IoT, like IBM, around the opportunity of IoT. And you know, using the cloud and cognitive computing and Watson to really leverage value out of all this connectivity. She spoke very eloquently about dark data, the data that's stored in many different devices, which we can't, until now, haven't been able to reach and get value out of, and then releasing that data and layering on cognitive computing, Watson, you know, their amazing cognitive computing engine to release lots of value. And so we've gone on this journey, you know, 2 years, 24 months from IoWatt to Watson. You know, you got a huge amount of value and a real change in the market now, from really looking at the evolution of the technology. I mean, that technology is there now. It's still going to evolve, of course. But really, we've got to this point where we're focusing around the real business model innovation that's going to be released by Internet of Things. And so we're at the real start of that real business revolution that's going to be engendered by IoT. So it's a really exciting time. Really keen to see what's going to happen over the next 24 months. You know, this stuff's only going to accelerate. And so, you know, 2 years' time, I can see us coming here, and well, who knows? Who knows? And that path has been followed by us as well with Internet of Things World. So, you know, after that first year of the Internet of What year, well, you know, we thought we had a show for 300 people, actually delivered 700, grew that to 6,000 people last year. And then, you know, this year, well over 10,000, I'm sure. Thanks for coming out here. We'd love to see you at the show in May in Santa Clara. Please, we have some discount codes here, so pick up a code when you leave. And with that, I'd love to get on with the main business of the day. So all around business model innovation. So we have some great innovators here for you. We love to share stories from the cutting edge, from the people who are actually doing that business innovation work. So I'd love to welcome our panelists today. And in particular, I'm going to hand over now to my colleague on our business information, business Ovum, Mike Sapien. Mike is the principal analyst at Ovum who looks at carrier, cloud, and IoT opportunities. And he's well versed in these issues. Mike.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you very much, Gavin. So thank you for all attending. I think what you see here is a very impressive panel that we have to discuss this topic around IoT, probably business strategies of IoT with the shared economy, and flavoring in on top some partnerships. So what we're going to do quickly is to let each panelist kind of go through their role in this whole area of IoT business solutions, shared economy, and partnerships, and highlight, maybe lift a few things that are new recently. Gavin talks about 24 months. I like to phone in on the next 6 months, because a lot of things have happened. Many things have been announced recently, but I think a lot's going to happen in the next 6 months that'll drive this even further. So without further ado, you know who I am, so I'm just going to let them do the whole intro and their role in this whole area that we're talking about right now. So with that, please, Carla.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks first off to IoT for having us from Zipcar here to represent. We really appreciate that. And Mike for being our moderator. This is my first time at CES, and boy, it reminds me of the Disneyland of electronics. It's pretty amazing, as you all know that, but this is my first experience, so it's been a lot of fun. It's great to be here as part of the panel as well, just with such a cross-section of the Internet of Things as we're talking, so I'm excited about that. So my name's Carla Archambault, And I'm actually on the product team in charge of launching our one-way service. So talking about the things that we're doing right now that's new, that's what I'm in charge of at Zipcar. I've been at Zipcar for 7 years. And I was thinking about this, like what was happening when I first started. And in 2009, when I started, I remember our CTO getting up on the stage with Apple and showing our new Apple app. And it was a big deal then, and now you think about all the apps that are out there, it's pretty amazing. I even have my app on my watch. So it's pretty cool to see where things have come from and where they're going. So when you think about it, Zipcar actually gets some credit for starting the sharing economy. And I'll talk about Internet of Things and how that connects in a second. But as early as 2006, popular media coined the phrase Zipcar capitalism to describe what would soon be collaborative consumption, and now we know that as the shared economy. We're thrilled to be and see where the industry has come and where we're going. When we first started talking about it in 2000, car sharing in 2000, people thought we were nuts. What do you mean? People are going to share cars? And they thought, how can that be? I mean, at that point, gas prices were $1.25 a gallon, so they couldn't fathom that. But we thought differently. Nowadays, you see people not only sharing cars and rides, but they're sharing homes and tools and offices, and you name it, they're trying to share it. So it's a different world now. We had a vision then that someday car shares would outnumber car owners across cities, across the world. And we're getting closer and closer to that every day, and then getting closer to the vision. And within, you think about the continued surge in development in self-driving cars. We've heard about that here this week around at CES and what's going on. We're even zooming faster now. So while Zipcar played an integral role in creating the car sharing, what you don't hear about is what our role was in the Internet of Things. And we had a pretty big role. If you think about it, we were the first, possibly the first, if not the first, real commercial application of the Internet of Things. Back in 2000 when Zipcar launched, there were no iPhones. A phone was a phone, a camera was a camera. You had multiple browsers and internet portals. You certainly wouldn't have thought that you could go to a car and get into the car without keys, and then, especially if it's not your own car, but we did, and we did it. Zipcar showed the world what was possible by linking things, in this case cars, into an intelligent network to revolutionize urban mobility. And so we took off-the-shelf products and combined them in a way previously not considered. We connected the in-vehicle telematics, we took SMS messaging and a web-based front end to enable someone to be able to go to their computer, make a reservation for the date and time that they needed it, and then take an RFID card and unlock the doors. So presto, we turned a car into an internet connecting thing. And in doing so, enabled hundreds and thousands of people to have an on-demand access to car whenever they wanted it and when they needed to use it. So this week's CES announcement signifies a seismic shift among automakers that suggests many leaders in the industry and several others now share that vision, and we really do welcome that and are excited about it. In our vision for the future and where we're at now is really thinking about connected vehicles and thinking about how that will whisk you where you need to go. It could be a shared vehicle, but it could be a luxury vehicle taking you on a date night, or a car taking you to get your groceries, or SUV taking you to the mountains. But whatever it is, the car needs to be the right car to connect people to what they need to do and where they need to go when they want to go. You'll no longer own a car, you'll own the trip. For Zipcar members who've been with us for any part of the last 15 years, this is already a way of life. And we really think to quickly achieve this, we need the full participation of the auto manufacturers and its deep experience in design, production, and service. And we also need telecommunications companies, hardware companies, software companies, telematics providers, to name just a few. We need them to come together and really make this connectivity needed to fully enable such an efficient, convenient, and sustainable future. So really, we're excited with where we're going and what we're doing, and in a bit I'll tell you a little bit more about what's going on right now. But thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Carla, very much. Muriel, please go next.
So I come from France, and I'm used to say that I come from the old world, not talking about France, but talking about the industry I'm ruling, which is postal organization. The deal we have, or the issue we have to face, of course, is that all digital, and especially IoT business, is a way to disrupt us, and maybe a way to make us disappear. So we had a big discussion, we had big reflection, and finally, we had all the reflection about what is our core business, and what would be the world tomorrow for us, and what our vision for that world. And we think that our core business, at least in postal organization in Europe, is trust. We think that our differentiation is proximity. And we think that our DNA is neutrality. Neutrality for business, like a referee, I would say. And all that we decided was something which was worth for IoT business, especially because IoT for us is a way to reinvent, redo our traditional job, and to bring what I would call IoT and connected object to connected services, and to find another birth. That's why with La Poste and DocaPost, which is La Poste subsidiary on digital business, we implemented what we call the digital hub, which is first an enabler, which allows development and innovation for IoT services, which is connected with all kinds of connected objects, directed neutrally and openly at any service provider. Means that we can talk with Sigfox, we can talk with LoRa, with Wi-Fi, any kind of connectivity, any kind of language. We can provide any back office system the inventors can imagine and can need for provisioning, for billing, for implementing things very easily, very quickly. So that it's a kind of infrastructure we've got on the software system, and that we had on the physical system, on the physical world with our services before. And more than that, the digital hub is a kind of trusted third party for business. It means that what the vision we have is empowerment of the final user, the end user, empowerment of people. Because IoT and IoT services needs empowerment of C people. It needs data, and if we wanted to develop and to provide all services and all welfare, then you will need to be empowered to rule your own data, especially when we are talking about wearables, when we're talking about healthcare, especially when we're talking about home. And we think that the postal DNA for that kind of empowerment and ability to make people rule those data, to know what for we use, and to register them all over the years, is something which provide and will provide big opportunities for the IoT business.
Thank you, Muriel. And now, Jason, if you have your spiel from August.
We're big. Your vision, the Postal Service in France, is leading the world in this area, and we love what you're doing. So, congratulations. So, Jason Johnson, the CEO, co-founder of August. We're most known for the August Smart Lock. That's our Twitter handle, August Smart Lock. It's the most popular, #1 selling Bluetooth-enabled door lock, and on the market for about a year now. We just launched our second product, which is the August Doorbell Cam. It's a Wi-Fi video doorbell. And that's really where we focus. We focus around the front door of the house and access control for the home. And In fact, about 8 weeks ago, we announced our third-party access platform. We call it August Access. And we believe that we are, maybe as Zipcar was for automobiles and bringing IoT to the sharing economy for transportation, we believe we're the first to do that for the home. And what that means is if you have August access-enabled products like ours and perhaps others in the future, you'll be able to give third-party access to your home. And what that looks like is you come home from work and your packages have been safely delivered, your groceries are delivered, your dry cleaning is delivered, your dirty clothes have been picked up, maybe you have fresh flowers, maybe your dog has been walked, and all that was done safely and securely because of the August Access system that enabled that. And our first partnership in August Access is Airbnb. So if you have an Airbnb rental and you have an August smart lock on your rental, like I do, I have a small rental house in Napa, California. And while I'm sitting here talking to you, somebody could have just booked my house using Airbnb's instant booking, and there was automatically an August key issued to that guest. And I did nothing, and they will stay there, and when they're done, my housekeeper, she gets a notification, and she'll come and clean it, and literally I have done nothing other than see the money deposited in my checking account. And we think that's a great example of the Internet of Things helping to enable this next generation of services, of the sharing economy, and we're excited to be part of it. So thank you for having me.
Jason, thank you. Great example, by the way. I love the Airbnb one. So Sandia, please, next.
Hi, I'm Sandia Rao. I'm from Honeywell Connected Home, managing the software and services for many of our connected home solutions. So Honeywell's been in the connected home space for quite some time. We're one of the leaders in security systems as well as thermostats, both in the home as well as in many of these convention centers and hotels that you're probably in here in Vegas. In terms of our focus when it comes to IoT and the shared economy, our principles are really around putting people at the heart of it. So Honeywell focuses, similarly to August Locks, around safety in the home, as well as energy savings, peace of mind, and comfort. And when it comes to IoT, it's really about how do we actually empower the people that are using our devices by connecting them, right? So first is just connecting them with their family, right? So in a security system, having mobile apps that can basically tell you when your son or daughter has come home safely and arrived safely, being able to see into the home when you're not there. Taking it to the thermostat side, if you're a landowner or a rental property owner, being able to remotely control your thermostat when you're not in the home. So when somebody, a renter comes in or leaves, whether it's an Airbnb guest or just ongoing renters, to be able to actually control that thermostat when they're not there. So if they left the air conditioning on at 50 degrees and that Airbnb renter has now left your home, you can actually turn it back to the level that you turn off the air conditioning if nobody's no longer inhabiting that area. In terms of taking it to the next level, what we really want to do at Honeywell is really connect people to partners, whether that's August or other partners such as service providers, contractors, HVAC contractors who might need to monitor or check how things are going with your thermostats in order to be able to service you properly and give you peace of mind as a homeowner. And homeowner always has access to share the devices in their home if they choose to do so. And then even going as far as actually connecting people to their community. So we think about shared services like Zipcar and Airbnb, but we can take that even further to just energy in general, right? Sharing energy. So what we've done with our API program is actually partner with folks like Earth Networks in Texas for demand response programs. And what that means is if a customer opts into a demand response program in Texas on a very hot day when there's significant energy requirements and there's significant issues in terms of how much energy can be provided on those days, a demand response program will allow the utility in that area to actually manage the load on the energy grid so that there isn't a blackout or a brownout. And in that way, you're really working together as a community, sharing your access to your thermostat so that you're actually collectively preventing a brownout or blackout from happening. We want to continue to do that in this space, working with partners as well as developing our own proprietary solutions. And actually, here at CES, we are showcasing some of our Lyric suite of security system as well as thermostats and water leak detectors. Our thermostat is actually now HomeKit enabled. So again, in terms of sharing access with other devices in the home, we can now do that through the HomeKit platform. So thank you for having me, and happy to be here.
Thank you, Sandhya. Now, Mike Susi from another aspect of this, but one would argue started in a very simple model, but I'll let you tell the rest of the story because I think this idea of shared economy, partnerships has definitely, as one of the newer players, you've been able to take advantage of. So please, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. It's nice to be with you this morning. Good morning. My name is Mike Susi. I am a product strategy lead for Nest Labs. Our mission at Nest and our roots have really been to reinvent those unloved but very essential products in our home. And if you kind of look at products like computers and phones that dramatically improve and iterate very quickly, there's products in our homes that, for all intents and purposes, look, function, and feel the same way that they have for the last 30 years. And that's our primary focus has been to reinvent those. So our first product, obviously, is many of you know probably the Nest Learning Thermostat. It was really launching this idea that a product can learn through use and automatically create schedules and understand your occupancy and the coming and going of your family to help you save energy and provide comfort. Our second product was the Nest Protect, which is a smoke and CO detector, reinventing the idea of how do you communicate if there's an emergency or a CO alert. And we have a speaking detector, so it tells you what room the problem is in. It gives you a heads up alert before it sounds the alarm. And well in advance of batteries going low, we can notify you rather than having that chirping sound at 2 a.m. and tracking down which room that's coming from, right? And then lastly, through acquisition, we acquired DropCam and rebranded that recently as Nest Cam, which is a Wi-Fi enabled camera, really providing awareness into your home anywhere in the world. So that's been our mission, but really our vision is to bring what we call the thoughtful home to life. I think one of the challenges when you're talking to consumers is using this idea of IoT, Internet of Things, or even smart home. They don't necessarily know what that is. We prefer the term thoughtful home in the idea that what Nest is really trying to create is a home that effectively will do the work for you so you don't have to. I think we have a general, kind of tenet or premise that there's enough screens vying for your attention. And while the mobile device has really been a driver for controlling our digital world for the last 8 years or so, automatically it makes sense that as physical devices have embedded wireless technologies that we're going to start controlling those with our phone, it makes sense and there's great value in that. But we really track a stat of how often our app is not used. And that's a really good thing for us because what we're trying to do is create a home that will work on your behalf without you having to go to the app and be proactive in having to control everything. Again, we'll always provide that proactive control, but I think it's a little different when you talk about the thoughtful home experience. And so we've certainly started to have, number one, our products work really well together. So, just as far as an example, between our 3 products, if there's a smoke or a CO alert, what'll automatically happen is it'll send a signal to the thermostat, which will turn off the furnace, which is often the cause of a gas leak or a CO leak, and it'll automatically start filming with or storing video from the Nest Cam and securely storing that in the cloud, so you can look at it later. If a fire were to occur, you can maybe see the cause. So that's a simple example of products that 1 + 1 = 3 in value, and the consumer doesn't have to go program that or set up an action to do that. So we launched about 18 months ago the Works with Nest developer platform or program, and that was really the beginning of what we're bringing on as a shared economy. And I think the theme really over the last year has been this idea of partnering. I think if you look over the last few years, it's really been about individual device manufacturers like August and even Nest getting their products to market and solving a particular need, pain, or convenience for the consumer. The next evolutionary step in this process, especially as a consumer, the adoption is not to go out to local Home Depot or Lowe's and buy $1,500 worth of gear, come home and build my connected home. What they're doing is starting with one product that solves a pain in their life. If they have a good experience, they're going to go out and buy another one. If they don't, by the way, they're going to return it and say this industry is not ready. So it's really important that we're actually solving the pain and they have a good experience. But this next evolutionary step for manufacturers is really, now that we're working on version 2, is how can we get these products to work together? Because as a consumer, if you buy the third, fourth, or product, the next logical question you're going to ask is, why aren't these products working together? They should. They should be able to communicate, share data, and provide 1 + 1 + 1 = 10 in that value. And so we launched the Works with Nest platform, again, about 18 months ago, primarily providing cloud APIs for manufacturers such as August to do an integration with our product to control them, and really working with device manufacturers on meaningful and thoughtful integrations that provide true value in solving pains. We just launched in October, I should say announced, the next iteration of the platform, which is allowing device-to-device communication into the home. So really what we're trying to do is allow developers to access the Nest products and platform in any way they want, through cloud or device-to-device in the home, through any user experience they want, through their app, through our app, or both, and then access some of the logic and algorithms that makes Nest in a Nest home very automatic or automated, if you will, and participating in our special programs like Rush Hour Rewards, which is our demand response program, and partnerships with utility companies and energy providers across the U.S., and really bringing out this idea of what is the thoughtful home going to look like in 3 to 5 years. And it's really our products and partner products working in concert with one another to where the consumer is really benefiting around their coming and going, their families and coming and going, without them having to do anything. So that's what Nest is up to in kind of our approach to the shared economy.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. And next, we're fortunate to have Mike Triano here from AT&T, who I can tell you has invested a lot in this whole general area of IoT, but I think even more recently has done a lot of focus on many of these industrial applications, connected car among many. But more importantly, what I see as important is AT&T is a very large global carrier, being able to provide certain elements of this ecosystem to provide a very robust solution. And I'm sure Mike can get into more detail about what he sees and has seen over the last year or so around this same area of shared economy as well. Mike, please go ahead.
Great, good morning. Thanks for allowing me some time to be with you. I just wanted to comment. I thought my home was the only one that, made chirps at 2 in the morning and my wife would wake me up. And it is a mad mystery in my house trying to figure out which damn detector is beeping, but different story. Anyway, my name is Mike Triano. I'm responsible for AT&T's IoT product management and strategy. And for those who aren't familiar with AT&T, your first thought might just be around connectivity. In fact, many of the companies on the panel today, we provide connectivity solutions to them, whether that's cellularly enabling the connected vehicle, talking about home security, whether that's cellular, whether that's Wi-Fi, whether that's wired. And in some cases, especially on the industrial side, we're starting to see even satellite communications come into play. I want to walk you through very quickly 3 big areas of growth. What I often argue is that we've been in this space cellularly connecting machines for well over a dozen years, but what got us to where we are today is going to be very different to where we'll be in the next 5 years. Just to give you an idea of the growth that we're on right now, We announced publicly at the end of Q3 of last year that in the first 3 quarters of 2015, we closed over 300 new IoT, cellular IoT deals with companies around the globe. And that's about a 25% increase year over year just in terms of deal velocity. And I do want to make it a point that it is around the world. Many of the deals that we're working on today are not just focused on the domestic US. These are companies, many based in Europe, based in Asia, based in other parts of the world, that are asking for connectivity, platforms, and end-to-end application solutions so that they have visibility into their goods around the world. I'll give you a very quick example on the industrial side. One is Maersk Line. You're probably familiar with Maersk. It's one of the largest shipping cargo container companies in the world. And chances are if you had bananas or fruit or even seafood here this week in Las Vegas, there's a good chance that that was brought from some other part of the world on a Maersk Line container, a refrigerated container. And what we built for Maersk is a solution that includes hardware, software, the application, the professional services for them to track and monitor refrigerated containers in about 140 countries each and every day of the year. Now, when it's out on the ocean, it's transmitting via satellite. When that ship gets close to land, it hits the cellular network. And it goes off of that cargo vessel and it hits a rail car. And then it hits a truck perhaps to get to the final distribution center. Anywhere in that journey, let's talk about moving shrimp from Thailand to San Francisco. Anywhere in that journey, Maersk, their supply chain, their vendors, if you want to think about a shared economy, now has visibility into that. Zipcar talked a little bit about the connected vehicle. You think about some of the things that we're doing with AT&T, 9 of the largest automobile companies in the world are using AT&T from a connectivity standpoint. Companies like Audi, BMW, we announced this week Ford, General Motors. In fact, General Motors last week made an announcement that in their Chevy division, they've connected over 1.4 million Chevy vehicles. That's more than every other car company combined since they launched their program with AT&T about 1.5 years ago. Okay, and if you look at General Motors advertising right now, they're not talking about traditional horsepower and the traditional automotive stats and figures we saw when we grew up. They're talking about connectivity in those vehicles. And the last point I want to touch on, just in terms of other verticals where we're seeing great growth, is actually in smarter cities. And we made a tremendous amount of announcements this week at our developer conference here in Las Vegas. We announced, and it gets to your point, Mike, around partnerships, we announced a very strategic set of partners, including companies like Cisco, Ericsson, Intel, Qualcomm, GE, Deloitte, and a few others, and AT&T, as we will approach some of these communities with smarter technologies and roll those out over the years to come. The cities of Atlanta, Dallas, and Chicago are the first 3 that we'll focus in on. But one of the important things as we think about smart cities and the concept of sharing, what I would argue is that many of the smart cities that call them smart today are really working on smart projects, stovepipe, project by project by project. If you really have a vision for a smart city, you have to think about how you start to share that information. How do you take the information from the water meter utility and share it with law enforcement, right? How do you share it with other parts of the government, whether that's your local or regional or even statewide government or federal government, in fact. And so those are some of the things that we're working on.
All right, thank you, Mike. That's actually very good. There's obviously a tie-in here. I think about every single one of the panelists and what they're offering, and that end vision of a real smart city or smart community, this would all be integrated. And you could use all of these services combined to basically, reduce your effort and work time, work at home, lower energy usage, whether it be power, share assets in general, share assets. I mean, from tools to houses to cars. I mean, you could share those assets in the community. I mean, it just almost sounds like too good to be true in a way, but the fact is you could actually share some of these things. I even think of the Postal Service. If somehow the Postal Service could coordinate delivery with some other city service, you wouldn't need so many people delivering things because they would know I'm going to be right there and where they are. And then, of course, you as a citizen could see everything on a mobile phone and decide, what part of the services you want to buy into or not. So right now what I'm going to do very quickly, with the time we have left, is I've given 2 questions out to our panelists, and they have the opportunity to pick one of those questions. Give me about 2 minutes, please, on the response to one of these questions. And we're going to start at the other end now with Mike Toronto. But the 2 questions are, what has changed in the last year that has raised the importance of IoT, shared economy, and partnerships? Or the second question, what have you or your firm done to address the requirements of the shared economy, IoT, and partnerships? So one of those 2 questions, and Mike, if you would please, just 2 minutes.
I'm going to merge them both, and I'll do it in less than 2 minutes. But one of the things that we've seen, and I started in the legacy, what we called machine-to-machine business, 12 or 15 years ago. We didn't call it IoT. But what I would tell you is, if I back up even 3 to 5 years ago, it was application developers who are tinkering with technology. I mean, we're talking about kids in college that were tinkering with vending machines to see if it had enough Coke in it, so they knew which Coke machine to run down to, or connecting a toaster to the internet just for the sake of doing it. Today, a lot of the conversations we're having with customers are chief marketing officer, chief strategy officer, CEO, or even board of directors level conversations. And it gets back to the point earlier, which is, if they don't start this journey now, they're concerned they may wake up in a couple of years and realize they've lost a competitive angle. That's point number one. On the second part of the question, very quickly, we did announce this week some development tools for rapid prototyping. And your points around the developer ecosystem, I think, marry up very well with our approach, which is we've got to be able to provide these tools and resources to the ecosystem so they can rapidly prototype, get them to market, but also realize that a company like AT&T doesn't have all the tools. You have to think about how you can share platforms and information to actually build and get to market the right solution. And so I see a lot more of that in the months ahead.
And Mike, Susie, please.
Yeah, great. So as far as what Nest is really doing to help facilitate IoT in the sharing economy, I think it really boils down to probably 2 things. One is, first, strategic partnerships. And I say that in our platform has over 12,000 developers that have signed up for it. There's probably 300 that are doing really interesting things, and then we highlight maybe 80 different integrations on our site. And I think there's a lot of gratuitous ideas around connectivity, and we often ask ourselves, just because you can connect it, should you? And do we really need another egg minder for $79 to tell me I'm low on eggs? Maybe, maybe not. But really what we try to do is look at what value other companies are bringing, really brainstorm out what we could do together, and then provide the platform in order for that idea to see fruition. And so the second part of that is meaningful and thoughtful integrations with strategic partners doing really great things in their own vertical. And then the second that we've really worked on is developing the platform that enables these companies to develop their IoT products and solutions and then tap into the intelligence rather than recreating their own back-end logic algorithms. We are doing all the heavy lifting in the background around machine learning, predictive analysis, habitual pattern recognition, all of these things. And if they participate in the ecosystem, because we can gather more data, we can actually feed that information back to the consumer transparently in having a better experience, but then also back to the developer in supplying more APIs, more functionality that produces a better example. So, for instance, we have a couple of different programs. One is Rush Hour Rewards, which I mentioned, which is our demand response system. So utilities across the country send a signal down to the Nest thermostat. We can certainly take action on behalf of the consumer by pre-cooling the home in a hot summer day. But not only that, but big-ass fans during that energy event will run the fan just to circulate the air, give the AC a break. Or Whirlpool, for instance, can delay a wash cycle until prices and energy prices drop, right? So it's really meaningful partnerships that the consumer is really benefiting from. And again, that comes through great partnerships, as well as developing a platform that our partners can actually take advantage of without recreating the wheel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sandia?
So I would echo a lot of the comments that have been made in terms of over the past year. I think strategic partners is critical for us at Honeywell. Working with Apple, with Samsung, with Panasonic has been very fruitful, and also working with a lot of the startups. So having launched our developer API portal, having startups come in and access our open API tools has been a really big win, and I think that it's really, I think what I'd add to sort of, all of those things is around the consumer. And I think that over the past year, we've really been trying to listen to the consumer and what their needs are, and really trying to deliver that, whether it's peace of mind, comfort, or savings. We continue to drive just reliability in our products, right? And making sure that connectivity works really well in terms of being able to remotely access your thermostat when you're not there. That's really, and I think something that's become very important is, looking at firmware and our software and the actual products that we're putting out there, and making sure that first and foremost, it's reliable for those consumers, and then taking that one step further in terms of developing the strategic partnerships, being where that consumer wants us to be. So if they want to use our devices via a SmartThings application, that's great, and that's okay. And then lastly, I think there's, over the past year, been a lot more thought and thought leadership, and I think we'll continue to see that around how do we monetize the data that's coming out of these devices in terms of providing the services that consumers really need and want, whether that's services from their service provider, or an insurance company that can provide discounted pricing to a consumer if they're using a connected product. And we'll continue to see that grow over the coming years as well.
Thank you very much. And Jason, please. And I'm hoping, by the way, I had a session with Jason separately, but I hope you do come with some partnerships with some of these shipping companies, because you intrigued me with this idea of the UPS driver who takes off, the FedEx driver takes off, and within seconds they're gone. So I'm sorry, I thought that idea just, but
it's something we all live
answer
with.
one of those questions, please.
We're all going to come home from CES, and we're going to find these little stickies on our front doors of our houses of a missed package delivery. Just UPS and FedEx alone try to deliver 20 million packages a day. Upwards of 5% of those are not delivered. That is not taken back to the UPS central center. They are literally not delivered to the person. That means they're stolen, they're missing. It's a massive problem. So a lock has been designed to keep people out. What if we could flip that around? What if a lock was actually an enabler that could let the good guys in? If you have an August lock, if you have a Nest Cam and you have a Nest Cam inside your door, we work with Nest. When the door is unlocked, it starts recording. In fact, Nest gives this little 10-second clip. So you see the package dropped off inside your door, you see the driver close the door, package safely delivered, you get the notification, everybody's happy. Reduces fuel costs, reduces labor costs. It's a perfect win-win. And I think this is just a great example of this technology really helping change lives, really helping to, in this case, could significantly impact e-commerce in general. Because we all think twice when we go online to order something, like, oh, how am I going to get that? What if it's left on my doorstep and it gets stolen? What if it's the wrong size and I gotta put it back in a box and seal it up and take it to the postal office to send it back? What if you don't have to do that? What if there's a service that comes to your house and picks it up and takes it back for you, right? We're talking about changing e-commerce potentially. We're very excited about that.
All right, thank you. That was a good fit in too. Go ahead, Brielle.
Jason, you must come and see us.
I would love to. I love France.
We've just implemented, we've announced, and it works. So please come and see. On our stand and on the stands, we've announced what we call the postal button. So you just put it into your mailbox, okay? And when you want to send something to someone, you just put the item into your mailbox, push the button, and then the carrier, the postman, will receive a message, the address you want to send that, and he comes, open the mailbox, and takes care of everything, okay? This is a Sigfox button, okay? Very nice button, just come and see.
I'd love to see.
Yeah. We think that for the sharing economy business, three key factors, in fact. One is the ability of interactions, especially on data and liabilities of data. Second is human, because we believe that in that new world, human will be still here, not only for business, but for happiness too. So we believe in that for the key factors. And third, trust, because sharing economy is a big question of privacy. We're talking about our assets, even our health, our body. So I told you already about empowerment on final consumer and trust. We launched also something which is called French IoT by La Poste. And we came here with 15 startups. One is dealing with the key on the door, so just come see and that too. I think it would be very interesting and then would be very interested in your solution. Aguila is something which is called Easy Sharing Solutions, and Parking Facile. When you want to lend your car, of course, rent a car, and then if you want to lend your parking, which is something very interesting. I told you about the postman as a provider of trust, not only for parcels, but for many information. Even to enter the house and check some things and provide services, small services, little services. It's what I was talking about when I was talking about connected services and the way services can mix with IoT and find new opportunities. And finally, this year, La Poste took a big equity investment in Restoin and Stuart. Maybe you've heard about that. I think that food is something really like a revolution for sharing economy, if I could answer that question first.
Thank you very much. All right, Carly, your turn here.
Yes. Well, first off, I'm excited. I have a Nest in my house, but I start thinking about all the different things that I can do. So I'm like, thank you for sharing all that. I've learned a ton. Some things that we've done at Zipcar this past year to continue to look at what's going to drive us forward. And really, I've heard all of you say it, that the consumer is at the forefront, or what we call our member, and making sure that we're meeting the needs for our members and the future members that are going to be there. So we've launched what we call Instant Join and Drive, so that now, instead of it taking you a few days to be able to get into one of our cars, you can instantly join on an app and have access to a car right now. So that's one of the things we've done this last year. I mentioned earlier that I was in charge of launching our one-way product, and so right now, one of the things, our core service brings you back to the same spot. This one will take you from point to point. So if I want to, and it reserves a spot for you. So I can speak to, so you think about it, garages are now connected, are in the Internet of Things, because we need to connect to a garage to say, we're going to go here. And so our members can take the cars there. So that's what we're in the process of doing right now. We've launched Zip Labs, which is our R&D group with a bunch of talented people that are actually innovating and looking at what is the future of mobility, as well as we've acquired a small tech company on the West Coast this year that's actually allowing us, some really talented mechanical engineers, along with who we already have, very talented people, to really take us to the next level of looking at that mobility and making sure that we're meeting those needs. And then we partnered with University of Michigan, the Transformation Center there, to really continue to look at what the connectivity, connected cars, self-driving cars, and what that will continue to be. And lastly, I would just say that what you're hearing, again, with having keynote speakers from the car manufacturers here this year, it's a big time right now, and we just need to continue to partner with the car manufacturers to make sure that the right types of cars are being produced so that we can meet the needs of our members and continue to allow them to get into a car easier. And with self-driving cars coming around the corner, how are they going to be able to use their Zipcars, and what does that look like for them? So a lot of efforts going into that on the Zipcar side.
Thank you very much. That's great. I mean, it's all sounds like great stuff, a lot of new things happening. We have probably a time for one question from the audience. Anyone interested in having a question at all? Sure, go ahead, please. Wait, the microphone's coming to you right now.
think one of the challenge is really the standard, right? I think about the IoTs. I think we are hearing all these different platforms. Obviously, you're trying actually just to make them work together, but it's still, I think, a big challenge. And the regulation too. So I think if you can actually touch some of these 2 points, that would be great.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to paraphrase that, and we just have probably quick, anybody who wants to respond to this. That was a two-part question in my view. There's the regulation and there's the standards. If you just give your thoughts in the couple minutes left of anyone who wants to jump in here. I'm going to give it to Mike because I know Mike has thoughts on this already, both standards and regulations. So please, Mike, go ahead.
I'm going to go fast, but I'm going to go from an application development standpoint. So you're right, it's very fragmented. It's tough for a lot of companies and developers to understand how to make sense, both from the device side all the way through the software side. But that's why some of these open standards, open source platforms are becoming more a strategy for companies like AT&T to get the tools out there. The use case study, just very quickly, is if I want to build a tractor tracking application in Dallas, Texas, and I write that code in an open source, open standards environment, and you want to write a tractor tracking application in Madison, Wisconsin, and you can reuse 80% of my code because it's basically the same, that's going to get you to market all that much faster. And so we see more move toward open source, open standard than some of the proprietary stacks that we've had historically.
Yeah, I just want to add one statement on that, Mike, and thought about to your question is, what we've seen, again, from the research, kind of what's happening inside, it really kind of gets down to the verticals and really down to what is that exact application. I think, unfortunately, there will never be a general, standards for everything within IoT application, but I think what we are seeing is within verticals and then solutions within verticals, there is some standards and use of some open source technology that says, you don't have to keep rewriting this. This has actually been done. I'm not sure we're going to get to a fully standard environment. I think we're going to end up with these kind of solutions by vertical, by application, by home automation, for example, versus something else, by asset tracking versus something else. That's just my thought, but any others want to chime in here?
Yeah, maybe, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Last year, I was in Vegas too, and things were the way you are describing. I mean, not multifunctional. But I agree with you, Mike. Nowadays, business, and to provide business and to raise business, you have to interfere, and you have to get that multifunctional applications. So it brings open, and things are more and more open. And it will be maybe we will have a few standards, but things are open because it's business.
Jason, you get the last thought here, and then I think we're done.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to add that I think it's up to us as the industry leaders to really come together and solve the problem. And I think, at the end of the day, we need to converge more. And it could be by vertical, but we do need to reach that convergence, because to drive scale in the connected home space or connected car space, without a standard, it's going to be impossible to do that. So I think that's sort of part of us as the IoT community to continue to drive towards that, continue to participate in what's going on in the standards organizations, and identify what is the best solution.
All right, well, thank you all very much. Our time is up for today. Thank you for attending. I want to thank the panelists, please. Great job, great job. Thank you all very much.